guys, how you doing? It's Rabea. Hope you're all well. So apologies if my voice sounds a bit weird. I'm a little bit under the weather. Nothing serious. Definitely not that serious. I think it's just a bit of a cold. But I can still shoot YouTube videos from home, of course. So I've been thinking about doing this video for quite a long time, and there's no reason why I haven't done it yet. Just time, I guess. But you may remember a little while back before Christmas last year, I brought out a pedal in collaboration with Andertons and Tone City called the Wild Throw. It was a super affordable £45 pedal made out in the Far East, and it was a modded version of one of their pedals they already had out, and I just tweaked it to my tastes. If you haven't seen that video, link in the description box below. I did a video all about it, but yeah, essentially the Wild Throw is a little 45 quid distortion, it's like overdrive distortion pedal. It's actually really good, so pretty chuffed with it. But anyway, I was like, I wonder what this sounds like when you stack it up against something way more expensive but in the same category. So before we get into this video, this is not a shootout, this is not a comparison, this is literally just my curiosity, and I'm sharing it with you guys just because I'm curious. So the most expensive compact drive pedal that I had in my house was the Origin Effects Revival Drive Compact. This pedal's around 350, something like that kind of pounds, and this Wild Throw from Tone City is 45. So the difference in price is huge. Not to mention the fact that obviously this is handmade in the UK, this is factory made out in the Far East. So, you know, component wise, you know, it's non-comparable. I'm not comparing, just to make that clear. What I am trying to do in this video is just out of curiosity, plug into both and have a listen and see, you know, like £45 and £315. Is there a huge difference money-wise, tonally? I think I know the answer before this is going to be no, because let's be honest, you know, it's about the guitar, it's about the player, it's about the rig, it's how it's recorded, you know, and you can get a great sound out of almost anything if you know what you're doing. So really, this isn't which one sounds better even. Just sharing this little tonal adventure with you. I was trying to think about ways that I could make this fair, but really it's not a fair test in the first place, because as I said, they're way different in terms of price and the rest of it and components. But I've rigged it up into my Super Kraken, but then that goes into the aux box where we'll use a bit of reverb and delay where necessary. But other than that, it's the same V30 speaker IR we're going to use, same amp. I'm not going to touch the controls, and we're just going to jump between the two drive pedals and have a listen and see what they sound like. Okay, we'll start with the Paul's guitar. This is how it sounds into the Kraken with a tiny bit of reverb from aux, but like I say, I always like to use a crunch, so this is how we start. So these pedals are definitely not alike in terms of feature set or their approach to being a drive pedal. Because on one hand, the Wild Throw is so simple. It's one gain knob, a more gain switch, a volume and a tone, that's it. And then the Revival Drive is meant to be about shaping its drive around the amp that you use. So it's got tons of pre and post adjustments, things like EQ adjustment that really changes the kind of EQ response of the amp, on top of a few different EQ presets, on top of blend, drive signal with your overdrive signal, on top of highs and lows and the way the presence reacts. You know, it's a super tweakable pedal. Everything's kind of 12 o'clock, as you can see, and I just want to turn them on and off and see what they do to the amp. Okay, this is the guitar. Sounds great. And now comes the Revival Drive Compact. So right away, it's not really doing very much, which is kind of the point of the pedal. You know, we haven't really touched any of the tweakable options yet. One thing I did notice is we get rid of a little bit of fizz at the top, so without it. Throw it on, it suddenly gets a bit softer. So it's affecting things a little bit, but we haven't even started tweaking with it yet. But anyway, let's try the Wild Throw, everything at 12. So that's doing what you'd expect, more of a traditional just drive. It's just adding drive, everything at 12 o'clock. So I'm going to start tweaking now. We'll start with the Revival Drive, see if we can get a nice fat gain tone. Well, that sounds absolutely immense, and I really didn't do that much to it. The gain's on full, and I moved the more and the presence right over to the left-hand side. I've tweaked things quite a bit. I'm aware that I just said I didn't do that much to it, but clearly I did. Well, we've kind of hit the ceiling of what we can get in terms of high gain out of the pedal. That's before I boost the front end with the volume, of course. This is just me trying to dial in the flavour of the pedal against the amp. But it sounds like a continuation of the crack and the way it's dialed in. You know, this is without it. It's more of a crunch. And then when you throw it on, it just sounds like I've gunned the gain. I mean, it's not modern metal, but it's definitely a thick, powerful rhythm sound. New metal chords. Sounds really good. Okay. So let's mess around with the wild throw, see where we can take that. Okay, so we're in a similar range of gain already, and that's just with the gain turned up. Let's add more tone to it. Gain on full, why not? So it sounds really good. You know, I'm aware that, you know, the amp itself sounds great. And then when you add this to it, it's really just throwing more in front of it. Straight over to Revival. Back to Wild Throw. You know what I mean? It sounds pretty good. Let's add some reverb and delay. I like it. It sounds really good. Both lead tones sound fantastic. Back to the Revival. In fact, the Revival almost feels a little bit better for lead. There's something about the response and the feel when you pick with the Revival. Yeah, it's really good. The Revival is really good. We know that already. Let's try the more gain on the Wild Throw. So with the more gain switch in, it's like another clipping stage, so it's taking a little bit of low end out. But it's really what it's doing is just adding more gain. And then if we turn the gain knob up itself, It's definitely a great sounding pedal. When I was trying to tweak this, I didn't want it to do like a modern progressive thing. I wanted it to be more of that kind of like when you put more gain and you really gun it, is to do the fuzzy distortion kind of chord thing, so that it makes those kind of things sound really thick and powerful. That was the idea behind it, on top of the fact that, you know, you can get nice sustain and leads out of it. But other than that, there's nothing really more you can do with it. It's a drive pedal. Like I say, it's 45 quid, so, you know, don't expect it to completely transform the sound of your amplifier. But if you like the sound of it, it kind of sounds the same depending on what you put it in front of, really. I mean, in front of a Fender Clean or something, it might be a little bit harsh to control. But any kind of crunch channel, you might find that you get similar results. And I haven't touched the volume yet to push the front end. That's the more gain switch and the tone and the gain sort of engaged. But the things I like most about the Wild Throw at this point are those sort of fatter chord sounds. Sound really nice for that. And also it's got a nice lead, silky kind of feel to it. Feels good, feels really nice to play. So those are the two things I like most about that. Whereas the Revival, let's just hear where it's at currently. Doing a similar thing. I must admit, the feel of it is nicer, but then again, that's probably a component thing. I'm not really sure why it feels nicer, but it does. Particularly on lead and stuff like that. Let's see how it reacts with the Les Paul. Let's try the Wild Throw. The Wild Throw has more gain, that has to be said. They both feel great though. Okay, this is the Fender Strat, plugged straight into the Kraken. This is on the Crunch. Obviously, it sounds a tiny bit choked because there's less gain on the amp because I was using humbuckers before, but that's a good thing. Let's leave it there. And let's start with the Revival drive. Okay, that's really good. That sounds great with the Strat. Okay, so I mean the Wild Throw, it took a little more tweaking, and I wouldn't say it sounds quite as nice with the Strat. There's something about that, it captures the essence of the Strat nicer. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because on one hand I'm loving things about the Wild Throw and the Strat, but then also I'm loving things about the Revival Drive and the Strat, and I feel like the more important things are more apparent in the Revival Drive. Like it captures the essence of the guitar, you can still hear the amp through it, it still sounds like a Strat through a nice gunned amp. Whereas the Wild Throw, it's like it's adding the distortion, the overdrive to it. You can still, you know, it's a Strat, but it's almost adding like a mid bump. Anyway, let's carry on, go back to the PRS. Feels really good for that. Similar kind of vibe here. Well, that's kind of the end of the video at this point, so I'm just going to keep playing through each one and being like, yeah, that's great for that, and that's great for that, and ultimately, they're both great. I find it hilarious that for £45 you can get it to sound, you know, not too far away from something like this. And this isn't discrediting this pedal either, or anything like that. I'm not trying to just shamelessly plug this either, but this is the cheapest pedal I own, and this is the most expensive pedal I own, so that's why I put them in a video together. I think it's that whole thing Lee talked about years ago about the law of diminishing returns, because, you know, when you start getting into guitar geekery and start to become a bit of a tone snob and like really want to feel those marginal gains by spending lots of money, that's what happens. It's just the way it goes. There's no doubt that the Revival Drive is more tweakable, it's got more tones in it, it's more sophisticated as a pedal. It's also worth pointing out that I'm playing into a PRS and a Super Kraken, so the foundation tone that I've got is already, you know, it's a nice, well-made sound. So how much of a difference is it going to make putting either one of these pedals in front of a rig like that? You know, but I think ultimately I kind of got out of it what I expected to, which is that you can get a really nice sound out of something this small and this cheap. You can get a really nice sound out of something slightly bigger and more expensive. There isn't a conclusion to this video. If you know what the conclusion is in this video, or you have a nice summary of this video, please put it in the comment section below, because as I said, it's just a curiosity thing and I'm bringing you on this little tonal adventure just because I thought it'd be entertaining. But I'll link both pedals into the description box below and their respective videos that I've done on each of these pedals. But I think it's worth opening up that debate. It's like Lee said, the law of diminishing returns. How much are you prepared to spend to get marginal gains? Like, really? Between the two, the biggest difference was like the feel thing with the Revival Drive. But it's, you know, it's not nearly 10 times as much, but you could get a lot of Wild Throws for the price of one of these. So, you know, there's some things to weigh up there. Anyway, hopefully it helped you make some decisions on pedal buying, maybe, or things to think about when you buy pedals. But in any case, more than anything, I hope you enjoy watching it, and thank you for watching this video. So anyway, links in the description box, like, subscribe, and share. Thank you all for watching. I've been Rabea, and I will see you all very soon.